So let me tell you some updates, I guess, that you probably already figured out, but I started uh, posting, or no, I haven't even done it yet, but I plan to post all these meetings, the video and the Google Doc. I'm making it clear that it's dual purpose meeting, so some of your stuff's in here, or these two organizations,
Mhm.
and I don't know if it's obvious why I want to do it. Uh, for one, I think we could get more help from people if they know what the hell we're talking about, and
Yeah.
two, um, well, maybe a lot of reasons. The second thing is, let me turn this off, the sound. A second thing is, on its own, it could be marketing, right? These
Yeah.
meetings. And then uh, I guess that's all, or that's all I'm remembering right now. Did you have something to say?
No. Yeah, that makes sense. But one thing about the shorts that I noticed, and the quality of the translation that sometimes is appearing with them, it's a little bit maybe subpar, to be honest.
Subpar, but let me ask you how the level. So, what kind of person wouldn't understand what was being said?
It's so there are two different things. The first one is the translation itself. The second one is the context. So uh, uh, putting it in an appropriate context might sometimes require a slight modification in the type of text that might appear. It doesn't need to correspond verbatim to what's actually being said. Sometimes you might want to rephrase slightly. This is something that I've encountered in translations
Yeah,
very
this is
often.
what
So
regular translation is. Yeah,
I've done
yeah.
a
I
lot of.
guess what you're saying, part of what you're saying, is the way Google translates it is very little translations.
Well, Google Translate is excellent. Like I said, it's becoming really good, and if you give it enough context, it actually sometimes picks up on the nuances and modifies based on this. So instead of just throwing
So you
in.
think maybe Google Translate is doing better than whatever engine I'm using?
You mentioned some other engine which we didn't know last time if it was actually relying on Google Translate or not. But what I'm saying is that suppose that you take just a single sentence and throw it into Google Translate, it might do a better job if you actually take not just a sentence, but maybe an entire paragraph, or better still, the entire thing that you
So,
want.
so the translations from my shorts, do you think they were doing it sentence by sentence instead of looking at the whole video?
Maybe, and for example, one thing that I noticed, uh, Feynman's name was misspelled. It was Feynman, not Feynman. So
Okay.
that
So it's
that
bad enough where it's not usable, or
I
what?
wouldn't say it's bad enough. It's not usable, but I think there is significant room for improvement.
Meaning like it needs a human.
Yeah, yeah. If you can find someone who's actually able to dedicate time for this, it's a good thing. I would be willing to do some effort with the translation, like I mentioned, but if it only if it's for short things, because I know the amount of time that's required for a big project. It's daunting. It's something that sucks up a lot of time, and quite honestly, in many times it's a very thankless thing. So it doesn't have the same dividends that you would get from the actual content
I'll give
itself.
you 1,000 things,
Well,
like the Arabs do.
what I mean, not necessarily in that sense, but um, if you are not marketing this properly, and if you're not formulating the translation properly, the effectiveness of that translation might be quite ineffective. Even if the quality is good, if you're not framing it properly, it would just pass through the people without really seeing what the significance of this is.
So let me remind myself some of this stuff real quick so I can start talking about these things. So at one point we were talking about the volunteers, and you were giving me some complaints you had about your experience with volunteers, which was something like you get a volunteer, he lasts a month, and then you don't see him anymore.
Yes.
So I wonder if we can work on improving the conversion rate. This is like business language, business management language. The conversion rate of first-time quality volunteers to lifelong ones. Let me ask you this: those volunteers that you get that are gone in a month, are they quality ones?
Some of them are. So here's the thing. The volunteers are required in order to build the momentum. But if the momentum of the project itself has an issue, then the kind of feedback loop that would have the whole thing build on one another, that was an issue for
So
us.
let me see if I understand. They're leaving in a month partly because the project as a whole and all the people working on it, there isn't enough happening, and then that volunteer falls off the
So
ledge
that
because you guys are also not talking to them or whatever.
right. So that we have two different types here. There is the type that gets enamored by the idea. Okay, I'm going to be participating in this project that I have been following for a while. They come, they nominally try to do something maybe for a little while, and then they leave because
Even though nothing changed on your end of like keeping on the whole project.
yeah, so sometimes we do give them tasks, but they probably like the idea of volunteering more than the actual act.
Okay, that means they never did any output at all.
Yeah, so that's one category.
So
The
so
other,
let's talk about this now. Let's talk about the category of volunteers that they did at least one project successfully.
right. So these people very clearly have a lot of motivation, and it's very often
We're
the
talking
most.
about ourselves right here, by the way.
Yeah, so the volunteers that we usually were able to have something done were people who volunteered for linguistic aspects, going over the text editing and stuff of that sort.
Who was the initiator?
So we would put an ad either on the magazine's
So they're
webpage or
responding
in
to
the
the ad.
Shabrike, or even in the magazine itself. And we would say, we need volunteers, so and so. The video that I showed you last time for the magazine actually includes a portion that's explicitly asking for volunteers. And the type of volunteers that we usually get would be people who are interested in writing articles. The quality of writing that we get can be variable. We have
Oh, so
actually,
you mean you put them on a project? I mean, I guess it's a test project.
it's not necessarily a test project. We do have tasks. Some of the more veteran people who usually take on these tasks are the ones that usually take the
I'm
lead.
sorry, I don't know if I was understood. What I mean by test project is we don't know if the person is any good, and we're gonna find out on the first project, and it might be so shit that we have to throw it away.
Yeah. So usually they do work more or less shadowing or shadowed by someone else. So they don't work.
Okay, in the case of me and a volunteer, wait, shadowing. Let's say we're talking about translating to Arabic. Shadowing means what? I mean, I can't.
It would mean like when you're an apprentice for someone who is already experienced, and you work with them
So that
on the.
means, okay, so you would be the person that is the main translator, head coach, and then we have the person who's shadowing you. Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
So, well, yeah, I wouldn't be able to do this by myself. So,
Right. And
so that's
so
you're like a level 1 volunteer. They're a level 2 volunteer.
exactly. And so this is definitely going to depend on my time and commitment as much as their own time and commitment. And so some extra effort would be needed in order to make sure that they're actually doing what they're expected to do.
So, okay.
And very often we are looking for people who already have some kind of an experience. Just enthusiasm by itself is not going to cut it, especially
How do
if
you
you
judge that from them?
right. So if we're interested, say, in someone with some web development
Let's
experience.
be easier on me, please. The
Okay.
translating to Arabic.
So with the translation, I would typically ask, what sort of translation have you done before? Can you share
Suppose
with
there's
me?
nothing.
Yeah, if they have done nothing, then I might give them a kind of a sample for them
Okay.
to work on.
Okay. You don't give them a real project. All right.
Yeah,
And then if they said they have worked on stuff, what do you want to see it or what?
yeah. If they have done something in the past, if they can share it with me, especially if it's a public thing, that would be great.
Okay.
This is something that we especially do with people who want to write, because if they already have some writing
It's easier
samples,
to judge their product. Yeah.
yeah. Uh,
Um.
with translation, especially right now, it's a little bit hard because you already need someone who knows both languages well enough to make a judgment call. Is this a person who's actually able to do the translation? Even if they start
Okay.
with something like Google Translate and then build on it, is it something that they're actually able to modify well enough for it to be a good
I
product?
want to talk to you about what I'm capable of doing, and then maybe you might change your mind on what's possible with these volunteers. So I'm pretty confident in. I'm like 100% confident in. I can produce really good Arabic with the help of someone like Zorro,
Hmm.
even though his English is not great. And it's because every single word I'm questioning, why are you choosing that word and this other instead of this other word? And
Yeah.
then when he gets stuck, we're using Google Translate. And then I'm complaining to him about, wait, why did Google Translate use this word instead of this word? And so on. So it's slow, but it's very accurate. The other thing I do with Google Translate without the help of a human being is let's say I'm translating to Arabic. I'll take my English, put it in the English part, pump out the Arabic. I don't even read it. I copy paste it again, but in reverse. Put in the Arabic and let me see the English. If the English is fucked up, bad.
طيب انت هلا بتترجم من
Let me finish.
العربي.
Hold on, let me finish. I wasn't finished. If it's bad, then I go back to the original, reword it in a different way, somehow looking to make it simpler, the English, and then pump it through the cycle again, and it often comes out good. So, what's your question?
No, I wanted to ask this in Arabic directly.
Go
انت
ahead. Why
بتترجم
aren't you?
انت بتترجم من العربي الفصحى ولا العربي العامية؟
Well, I understood what you said. What? No, it's Fusha because it's written down. Who's writing in Ammi?
طيب بس انت بالنسبة لخبرتك اليومية
Oh,
تحاول تحكي على
إلا عمي بس ما بعرف ليش هي matters because I'm not even speaking in Arabic with Zorro while we're having that discussion. I mean, of course, I'll see a word and I'll say a word, but the rest of the sentence is English.
Right. So here's my problem with I prefer to present a spoken content in English rather than in Arabic, because I would have a tendency to lean towards the Fusha more, since the Ami very often
By the
lacks.
way, I'm not sure I understand what you're saying, but when I have conversations with Zorro about this, and my mom and my dad and everyone else I try to get Arabic information out of, I find them, and very much so Zorro, he'll have a hard time knowing whether a word, and I'm always questioning this, is that Ammi or Fusha?
Okay.
And then because I want to do this too, I learned this from my grandfather. So when I was 10 years old, my grandfather, I spent a year in Syria. He taught me writing and reading and Arab.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I remember him doing, which I do all the time since then, is I'll hear a word and then I'm trying to figure out what the root word is, the 3-letter root word. almost all Arabic words are 3-letter root words.
Mm-hmm.
And then what I'm doing with somebody like Zoro is when he says the word, I'll ask if it's Fusha, and then if it is, I'll ask what the root word is, and he'll have trouble finding it. But then eventually he finds it. That's what helps me break the shit down.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So can you go back to whatever you were asking and ask it again?
So
you were trying to judge my skill or whatever.
No, you basically answered more or less what I was going to ask with what you described, because if there's a kind of an ambiguity in what it is that's Ami and what it is that's Fusha, that might...
Well, there shouldn't be any Ami at all in the written shit. Who the hell's doing that?
I personally think that Ami should have legitimacy. I do have
we do have Urban Dictionary, and that's useful.
Yeah.
And then English changed. Like the English we have today, isn't it basically the old English plus some Ammi?
Yeah, but the gap that you have between Ammi and Arabic and
it's a lot more.
It's
a lot more. But I was thinking, you tell me this. Try to imagine a Australian person, and I mean the kind of person that's only from there, only heard Australians talk, never been on the internet or TV, so he's never heard anybody else's lahja, okay? Mm-hmm. Have him talk to someone from Scotland, also never saw anyone else. I don't think they'll understand each other, or maybe I didn't pick the right two. Scotland and some ghetto area here, what they call Ebonics, I don't think they use that word anymore. They wouldn't understand each other. And I think the same is true, and you tell me if it's more or less. I can't imagine it's less. Maybe it's more. Moroccan person, and let's say what's another one? What I understand, Syria is pretty close to Fusha. What's another one like Moroccan, but far from Fusha? I guess Iraqi.
Iraqi or someplace from the Gulf states, they probably would have a really hard time understanding each other.
Okay, at the same level as the Scotsman and the Ebonics guy. Okay,
even worse. No, it's actually worse.
More. Okay, it makes sense that it's more. It's older, more mixed.
Well, Moroccan is more complicated because it's not purely Arabic.
Yeah, it's like a mix of 3 different things.
Yeah. And so
is Iraq, but and a lot of that is
no. In Iraq, I have no problem understanding most of what Iraqis say. Well,
I guess, and you're Egypt, no, Jordan.
Well, here's the thing. My parents are originally from Syria, so my.
So they moved to Jordan, and that's when you were born?
I was born in Jordan. My parents were born in Jordan, but my grandparents were born in Syria.
So your parents are Jordanian?
Yeah. At home, we had a discrepancy. So at home, we would speak mostly Syrian from Damascus. Outside,
that is weird. Your parents, who didn't live in Syria, spoke Syrian because of their parents?
Yeah. So when I was conversing with my aunt, with my grandmother, they never assimilated in Jordan. It was purely Syrian.
I got to tell you, this is so off topic, but it's kind of interesting to me and fun, whatever. I don't remember if I told you, I've been saying this to some people. When I was born and raised in America, my parents are Syrian. They spoke to me in Arabic. My first language is Arabic.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there's TV, but like Tom and Jerry, there's no words.
Yeah.
So I don't think that counts. I'm not getting any English. First grade or kindergarten, my teachers had to sit down with my parents and said, "Hey, you need to speak English at home." So they stopped speaking Arabic at home. And we forgot Arabic.
Yeah, well,
I was 10, and then we were in Syria for a year. Anyway, there's another person, my half-brother, who I never thought about this until recently. His mother, Egyptian, didn't do what my parents did. She just continued speaking Arabic. She actually doesn't know English. Like, I mean, let me say it this way. She can maybe understand you if you said something. She cannot reply in English.
And has been living in the US?
Yes, the whole time.
Okay.
And the point is, the relationship between the parent and child is this kid is in school speaking English, raised in Arabic, still talking Arabic at home the whole time. And then when they talk to each other, he speaks English, she speaks Arabic back to him, he speaks English back to her. English, Arabic, English, Arabic.
Yeah, well, let me actually compare that with what I have at home. My daughter never learned Arabic fully. When she was little, we used to speak to her in Arabic.
And she was born here.
Yeah, she's born in the U.S.
In the U.S.
And because of our commitments and work, she spent most of her childhood at daycare. So she was the one who forced us to start switching to English gradually.
Because she knew English and she wanted to converse with you.
Yeah, and so right now she cannot speak she cannot speak Arabic. She understands it perfectly, but she cannot speak it.
Oh, okay.
So that's a completely different paradigm.
Anyway, I guess I never said why this was interesting. It's like I don't understand how someone can learn a language well, or how anyone can expect it to happen. I mean, when you're not even speaking the language of your country at home.
Yeah. So no, it's definitely the case. If
and it makes me think about the advantage my parents gave me by speaking English at home and choosing to not speak Arabic anymore.
Yeah. So I would consider myself in that sense, even though we had Arabic inside and outside, I would consider myself to have been a bilingual right from the start, because the dialect in Jordan was not the same as the dialect that we had at home. And so
the grammar's all the same, though?
It's very similar, but it's not the same.
So what I had, and I would say this gives me more of a bonus than what you got, I had two very different languages.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, going in different directions. Very different grammar, and I mean, part of the bonus was I was learning the language, including the grammar, from my grandfather, who was a writer, and I'm pretty sure I had already had grammar lessons, in the U.S. in English. So when you learn two different grammars, that really helps you learn each of them more.
Yeah. I
remember coming back from over there, and they give you those standardized tests in school, 99th percentile for grammar, and I didn't understand that. I didn't understand why I'm like that. I got that in math too, but in reading, 50, 50th percentile. Anyway, let's get back to business.
Yeah. So getting someone who is capable of translation, first of all.
Yeah, but now that I told you about what I'm capable of doing, doesn't that change what kind of volunteer we can have?
Are you working with anybody right now? Because I notice on Reddit there are people who are saying they know certain languages. Have you followed up with any of them?
Nobody's mentioned it in Arabic. And the guy who mentioned it in, I don't remember what his language was, he said it's not good enough. He was just saying, I wish I could.
Okay. So in terms of working with people, I have no problem coordinating this, but I might start out working on small, like if you have some shorts and you want to do them, I can help with that. But if you are planning something,
well, let me say this. I care more about acceleration than velocity.
Okay.
It's funny that popped out of my head because I knew physics. Normally I wouldn't be able to say such things and anyone get me. Anyway, so I care more about creating a system that's going to let us do a lot later rather than trying to do a bunch right now. And you working on translation would be velocity. You helping me figure out how to get volunteers to work with me and skip you, let's say. I don't even know if that's possible. That's what I was trying to propose. Then we could get a lot more done that way.
Okay.
So do you think we could find a volunteer, or you could find a volunteer that then works with me, and we kind of do me and them without you?
Okay, so very often when we announce that we want volunteers, including translators, people get enthusiastic, but translation is a really tedious job, especially if we are talking about a translation of something that's extensive.
We would do it together on a StreamYard thing just like this. To make it easier?
Possibly. But you would actually need to make sure that whoever is going to be volunteering actually has the intent to do something like this, and maybe has some
it would make it easier for them to do it if we're on a call and they can't just run away.
Maybe so
and more fun. Maybe that would do better at converting people. We do meetings like this.
It's possible, but it really is going to depend on the person, because when we usually have a project and we want someone to work on it, we would make kind of a general call. Who is interested? Who of you people would be interested in working on this project? And we would share a file. That's basically what we do on Facebook. We have a group of people that's there. We post a file, and I just say who would be interested in working on this file. Some people would say, I would like to do it. Someone would say, sorry, this month.
By the way, okay. I want to mention another bonus that happens if I'm the one involved with that person on a call like this. It's helping make sure they actually understood the damn idea. Because they could be a great translator, but only if they actually understood it, even in English.
Right. No, that's fine. And I think maybe doing it live would actually be useful. So for the magazine, there used
live
to
or
be
just recorded.
Recording it or
recording it and publishing later. Okay.
Yeah, this is something different. But what I'm talking about is that kind of direct connection that we'd have with the person.
Yeah,
this is something that we have lost over the years. We have not had a live meeting for a very long time, and I think that's part of the reason why a lot of the momentum died out. When you are just sending someone a file and asking for them to work on it.
You're saying this should work better.
I think so. It should. Yeah. It makes sense that it's going to create an actual work environment where people do.
Yes.
Yeah. So
and to get their questions answered really easily and quickly on a call, instead of I got to send an email and I got to figure out how to word this goddamn email and now it's taking too long. And
exactly. Yeah, definitely. So I think if you get someone to do something of that sort. Whether it's live, recorded, or
I don't know how you're running these ads, but maybe you can run an ad in because you have a lot of people that speak Arabic. I don't know anyone, right? So suppose in your venues you're doing that, and I guess maybe you would also be the one that judges if, like, a filter. You're the first filter to like an interview. You interview them, and then you send them to me, and then we go from there.
It's honestly, it's very hard to find translators, to be honest.
Yeah, but what we're talking about is that they exist, and we would get more than zero.
They exist. It's just that very often the ones that are motivated enough, that are skilled enough, they don't expect to be volunteering for this, especially if it's a big project.
Okay, but like the thing that you're saying, if it's bad enough, then we're dropping the whole project. But the fact that we're looking at the project means hopefully there's more than zero.
So I don't think you would probably get a lot of people on Reddit working on Arabic stuff.
Reddit is not really Arabic people.
Yeah, as far as I know, I don't see a lot of people going there. And here's the thing: why is it that it's hard to get someone to work on an Arabic translation, Arabic to English or English to Arabic? It's because most of the crowd that we get, for example, on the Facebook group, they are almost exclusively speakers of Arabic. They might know a little bit of English, but not enough to be confident to go through a translation.
So maybe the ad should be in English.
The ad could be in English, yes.
But in the Arabic place. Yeah.
In an Arabic place, maybe not in a place like the Shabaka, but maybe on a Facebook page, if you're thinking about Facebook, or on Twitter /X, that could also
I
work.
mean, even something like my mom's Facebook personal page, she could just post something like that.
Maybe. I'm not sure how much effective it's going to be, because the reach is going to be different. The people who might be following her might be looking for specific content, specific ideas. You might find people. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean,
I
we only need one right now.
Mhm.
What I mean is, like, I mean, she has 10,000 followers. Okay, so we're hoping there's one.
Yeah, it's definitely something to try.
Yeah. I mean, is there other, do you have other ideas to try to avoid whatever obstacles you're thinking there is?
So for a while, we used to run paid ads on Facebook. Um, th- it, I don't think it was effective, honestly,
Hmm.
but it widens the reach, and if you design the audience properly, this might be more targeted and could bring something. But I think dedicated pages, like if you have put something on your page on Facebook, or if you put it on the website directly, that or in a prominent place, that this is something that you're looking for, and you put it
On
in
the Uniting the Cults website?
yeah, this is something that I think would be more
Okay.
effective.
Okay, I'll add something there. I mean, we'll have to figure out what to say, but yeah.
The descriptions of videos that you have on YouTube.
Well, we'll figure that out later, I guess. Develop an ad, and
I mean,
figure out.
it's possible to motivate people if they think that this content is really interesting and needs to be available in some other language. If they want to participate in propagating that, um, when you have it in the description of a video, the impact of the video itself could be motivation enough to, if not the person themselves, then maybe they can refer someone who actually is interested or skilled.
Okay, so I guess that's a new task now, like this right here, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna delete this now. Let's see. We'll both, on our own, put more thought into that, and then we'll meet next time and start hashing out details on that. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I added this on here because we talked about social media silencing us. So I guess one of our goals should be to fix that. How to get social media companies in the West to understand to stop silencing us or something. I don't know any details on that. I'm gonna ignore that for now. I have no solutions there. Let me get through these real quick.
But I mentioned something about that point last time, which I want to emphasize. I don't think we should be working separately from other people, other groups that are affected by the same issue, because it's
Yeah,
not only.
meaning we should join the realm of people already doing this
Yes.
who have nothing to do with ex-Muslims.
Yeah, because if you're saying specifically for ex-Muslims, you're basically trying to emphasize freedom of speech mainly, and there are other groups that are affected by the same
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
I can actually share with you a meeting that we had. I recorded that, a meeting that we had with Facebook a while back, that specifically talked about this, and there were in attendance other people in the group that that discussed this, that were affected by this. This was 2020 or 2021. So a lot has happened since then, but I think it would still be useful to know how this.
So I guess the idea here is go find out the organization is already doing this.
Yeah, and you would be surprised how many people are actually affected.
Yeah. Okay. So one thing I wanted to say, you mentioned all that talk about volunteers, and at some point when we have money, we can pay them. And they're still sort of volunteers because they're doing it because they want the same goals we have, right? But the pay kind of makes it better or something. I don't think we should have, well, I'm not really sure about this, but it would be better to have paid volunteers that give a shit than just people we pay that do translations.
It depends on the task, honestly.
Okay.
Some tasks you just want someone
Yeah,
who's
if we need SEO help, we don't need them to care about.
Yeah, for example, something
But
that
translations matter, right?
yes,
For that.
yeah.
Okay.
But because you don't want to pick anyone who's interested in translation, because I know for a fact that people would tend to distort the translation based on their conception, especially if it conflicts with their religious convictions.
Wow. Hold on. Don't go so far. I
I
had somebody translate some of my work many years ago. I think I found him in the Shebeke. And I did my thing. I'm investigating every single word, right? I pump it into Google Translate and see what it tells me, and it's like, that doesn't sound right. And I said, hey, you said this. That's not what I said. And he was softening it. But that changed my idea.
Yeah.
And it flipped it. And from his perspective, he didn't want me to sound like cocky or something. But I don't give a shit about what he thinks about that. And 99% of the world is wrong about that stuff. And that's why I want to be involved in the damn translation. And he's on my damn side. He's
no, translators, especially if you just look for skill, this is a really bad idea. You have to make sure that whoever is going to be working with you on this is motivated by the same motivation that you have. That you're
but there's so many little motivations. Like I don't want to soften something because it sounds cocky. I don't care about that. That's a little tiny motivation.
Yeah, no, I understand. There are also niceties and etiquettes for people who are speaking in Arabic that does not exactly correspond to the way that in English, especially if you're thinking about this from the perspective of an American, it does not transfer the same way. That's not the only issue. The main issue has to do with religious implications. I have so many different examples, for example, of distorted translations of movies and TV series, where you can see that there is something that conflicts with the religious ideas, and the translator starts taking liberties and puts in disclaimers and things of that sort. This is not something that you want to see.
Totally gets rid of the meaning.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna delete these as we go. I guess this is understood. Whatever. So we mentioned it before without saying how we're gonna do it, but this, I guess, did I already make this a goal? I guess this should be a goal. Get on the radar of. Why is that not working here? Get on radar of bigger orgs like, I mean, that's vague, but actually get meetings. I don't know what kind of meetings. How do people do that? By the way, there's a lot of what I'm doing that like I'm better at marketing than sales. I don't know if you know the difference between them. Marketing is, you write a piece of writing and you pump it out there, and it doesn't matter that there's any communication coming back. It's not a dialogue. sales is there's a dialogue, right? Well, that means you're speaking to, and there's things like your first impression to someone in the first thing that you wrote to them. It matters like how long it was, how short it was, what you said in the first sentence, how much detail you give, maybe too much information, all that stuff. I'm sure I'm getting a lot of it wrong, and the evidence is how many? What is it? Only of all the YouTubers that I contacted, only one replied. And,
Okay.
And I don't even think. I mean, really, he kind of saw me before I saw him, kind of thing. So I'm 100% failure.
So if you want to connect with people from ex-Muslims of North America, I can probably assist with this because I have met in person people from there and we work together. How effective this is going to be, I'm not sure, because like I said last time, they are downsizing right now in some way. They had chapters all over the place, and both in the US and in Canada. And right now they are giving these chapters more autonomy and trying to focus on other things. Are you subscribed to their Dissent Dispatch?
I don't even know what that is.
Let me actually, they just sent one today. Let me share it.
I mean, that might be why people ignore me. Like if I ask to talk to them and then they look through their database and find out I'm not subscribed to anything, then maybe that's bad. Yeah, I'm going to sign up now for their email. There, I'm subscribed to something.
So they sent something on. I shared here something. So this one was sent earlier today, and it's coming directly from Muhammad Sayed. He's the one running the whole thing.
Muhammad Sayed?
Yeah. And I think if you want to get someone on the podcast, Muhammad Sayed or Sarah Haidar, these are actually good people to show up there.
Let me write some of what you're saying down. Muhammad Sayed.
S-A...
And the other one?
S-A-Y... well, actually, that's not how he writes his name. S-Y-E-D. And Sarah Haidar. I think she puts an I in her name. H-A-R. Let me.
And you mentioned to get on the podcast.
You might be able to get Muhammad Sayed. I think Sarah right now. I haven't seen her do appearances like this recently.
So let me ask you first. So is the first thing that happens, should it be they get on my podcast or I get on their channels somehow?
No, their channel right now is putting out mainly documentaries about people who have left.
So there's no place for me to, like, let's say, do an interview or for them to talk about my organization on their channel.
Yeah. As far as I know, I haven't looked recently at their channel, but what they have been putting out have been experiences of ex-Muslims, things of that sort.
I'm an ex-Muslim.
But it's done in a kind of a documentary way.
Oh, I see. It's not one-on-one.
It's
okay. Yeah. Not one-on-one interviews. So then here's the thing. If we can get them on my podcast, I can argue with them on how to do more. So that's fine if they can get on the podcast, because then we'll have a conversation like this. Okay, so next topic, I guess. Can we go on?
Mm-hmm.
Very early on when I started this organization, what is it, 3 months ago? Obviously, in the beginning, it was just me.
Mm-hmm.
and I was already doing things, that was very public. And I remember somebody saying, aren't you just one person? Well, obviously it's just one person. I started yesterday. But then even recently, a couple weeks ago, somebody told me, and I got him on the podcast so we could discuss it in detail, and we did it. He said it looks like a one-man project. So I want to work on fixing that. One of the things he said he thinks I should be doing is to somewhere in the marketing language, really early on, in whatever language anyone sees, you say something like, part of what we're doing is trying to work with other people and organizations. Even though I already say that? I mean, I said, like, at one point I say this is about education, and part of it is I need to be educated from other people who are already successful in the kind of things I'm doing, which is why I keep talking about AHA Foundation, But the fact that we're doing these meetings now, and I'm going to publish them, it gets away from the appearance of the one-man project, right? So I want to make it a goal of fixing this appearance thing. Well, I'll also fix it in real life too, meaning like it can't be an organization that's just doing what I say. It needs to be something that everyone that's involved, whatever good ideas they have, gets to the top and actually gets executed. And so it's kind of like, I put in quotes, democratic organization. I put it in quotes because I don't agree with the concept of just voting and then going with whatever got the most vote, because that basically means a bunch of people that are disagreeing with each other and no one came to agreement on anything.
Yeah.
We should be able to come to agreement, and 100% of the people voted on the same thing, which is, by the way, what we do in a murder case with the jury. It's either everyone says he goes to jail, or if one person disagrees, it's not happening. And if somebody disagrees with some big thing that we're doing, why are you even there anymore? Like, what do you you know what I mean? Of course, it could be something small. I don't know. Like, as an example, if you're a business owner and you have a lawyer, and then you ask your lawyer for advice on something, and then your lawyer says, don't do X, and then you do X, while you in your head you just said, fuck what my lawyer said. And I'm not even going to argue with him about it. I'm not even going to give him a chance to tell me why I'm wrong and then go do it. What should happen there is you fire your lawyer and go get a new fucking lawyer because you must think he's an idiot.
Right, yes.
And also your lawyer should say, well, why the hell? I don't want to deal with you. Now I'm going to look like an idiot because now you're going to go do dumb shit and you're going to make me look bad because I'm your lawyer. Because it's legal things that you're doing wrong, So in this kind of thing, I mean, we have that right now. If you're telling me some idea about the translation thing and I'm like, nah, he's dumb, I'm going to do something else and not even tell you about it, I don't think I should be doing that. We need to come to an agreement about it. And I don't think it's that hard to do it. And actually, you and I have a lot of experience from all that physics shit we did. You know what I mean? Like, that's a lot of what that was.
Yeah. So I think with what you're saying, probably some kind of a structure that has a kind of a built-in ability to grow and add roles and people should start at this point. And I do not claim to have any kind of knowledge of how to do this. But what I'm saying is that some kind of a structure, a planned structure, needs to start from now, and in whatever front-facing.
Well, I see it as you already have a role. It's just we didn't put a special name on it.
Right. Yeah. So something of that sort. And then
actually, I kind of just did. Level 1 volunteer.
Right. So something like
other names.
Yeah. And then trying to think about, okay, Obviously, you need more than one level 1 volunteer. We need to have various conversations, something of that sort. And then how does that level 1 volunteer connect with level 2 volunteer? What is it that that they need to be doing in general? What sort of roles we're talking about?
So on what you're saying there, you're getting into details. What I would say would be first is like having a constitution.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You like, we couldn't start the US and step 20 was make the constitution.
Yeah.
Wasn't the step 1 make the constitution? I think it was.
Well, there if you don't count whatever historical / economic / political events that preceded that precipitated in the formulation of a constitution, yeah, I would say the formalization of the US as a country, as an entity, happened with the constitution.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that there wasn't something that existed before that.
Magna Carta, is that what you mean?
No, I'm talking about something more more immediate, like
well, there were written documents that by all those same men previous to the Constitution.
Yeah, so
those ideas were in there, right?
Yeah, so yeah, there. What I'm saying is that there was some kind of a precursor that preceded the Constitution, and that before you actually make the Constitution.
Let me tell you the precursor. Here, I'm going to say it very generally. It's the methods of science.
So yeah, so some kind of a precursor that would inform the actual process of phrasing the Constitution.
I would say the what are they called? What are it's numbered in the U.S. Constitution, right? What do you call the each item?
The clauses.
Clauses, okay, or ayat. Okay. I would say clause 1 is something to the effect of we're doing the scientific approach.
Yeah, yeah.
If not 1, then it's number 2, and I would put number 1 as something that is more humanistic language.
Yes.
Or clause 1 is saying both those two things, love and reason.
Okay.
And then now here's the thing, people disagree about all that stuff too, right? So then we also have to say, okay, here's our current account of what that is. And I have a document we can start with, unless you already made one. But anyway, and I guess I should link it here since we're talking about it. Yeah, this, I guess. And then, so what this is saying is my conception is to make a constitution from this.
So there are examples that we can look at in terms of what other people have done in that area, because obviously all the organizations have some
constitution. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and I think it would be a good idea also to consider that, since obviously we don't want to reinvent the wheel, and there are certain things that might be pitfalls that could be easily avoided. And if you want to create a robust,
which everything you're saying right now is the scientific approach.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you want to create.
There's no physicist making the next physics theory without learning all of the history of ideas before it.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess that's the thing here now, because that's the point of a constitution, is there's more than one person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
By the way, I probably will need to leave in 25 minutes or so.
Okay, and it's okay if it's all of a sudden and cut off or whatever. It doesn't matter. Oh, I said something to you last meeting about returning viewers. I'm trying to remember what it was. So if you look at, I have a series called, or what do they call them? Not series, playlist. I have one called "Why Is Everybody Stupid?" And if you look at the views on that, because that's a set of things where if somebody's liking that, they're gonna try to watch all of them. Is my conception.
Yes. Yeah.
Rather than watching the rest of my videos. And if you look at the views on those, returning viewers on that, it's higher than the 30 I think I told you about, much higher. And then
why do you attribute what do you attribute this to?
I have people that give a shit about those particular videos. And I think whatever video I had shown you, it wasn't like that. It wasn't in that group, for one thing. Like one of my shorts or whatever. Those are the brand new things. No one's used to those yet.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Anyway, that doesn't matter. I don't know why I brought that up.
I
guess I have more returning views than just 30.
Yeah, I remember we mentioned something about returning viewers for some reason, but I don't recall exactly.
You were just curious of how many I'm getting.
Okay.
As to separate it from the other number, which is one-time viewers.
Yeah.
How many people are continuously coming back? Yeah. One thing I realized is, in order to get volunteers, you need to give them a menu of the things we need, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Otherwise, you can't just say, "Hey, we need volunteers. Come talk to us and ask us what we need."
Yeah, no, definitely. This is
I
something
started
that we
doing.
always,
I started
we always try
putting
to do
things.
that.
I guess at some point I'll have a menu. I mean, each what I've done so far is, I need one thing and I post about it. And then, of course, that's going to evolve, that thing on its own, the translation project. And then when I have 5 different things, I guess I'll have a page somewhere, I guess on my website, Uniting the Cults, and it'll say, here's the menu of things we need. So I guess that's easy. All right.
Well, how about as a kind of a parallel effort to ask people what sort of skills they have, and then maybe to go off of that to see what kind of thing they could be helping with based on it.
Well, isn't that too open-ended and there's just too much? Like, I wouldn't be able to tell someone what my skills are. I'm
Right,
writing
but no, but here's the thing. If you're telling me that there is this project that you are following, basically what this project does,
Okay.
and then you ask them, people in the context of this project, are there specific skills that you think you could contribute with? If that's the case, you might then tailor a type of task that would be specifically suitable for that person. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I'm recording, by the way. Ask people what skills they have, and then the point is we're trying to connect them. Where was I? So, by the way, I emailed back the communication manager of Ian Hersey, saying, "Hey, so when's our meeting?" And she said they're changing how they're going to do the meetings with the founding members. It was originally described as one-on-one, but now it's group meeting. And I said, that's fine. Okay.
Is that going to be on Zoom, or is it something in person, or how does that
I don't think
work?
it's in person. I don't know how the hell they're going to do that. And they made it sound like one group meeting, which must mean it's not very many members. I don't know. Because if it's a lot of members, it has to be multiple group meetings. There's no way you're going to get everybody on there, at the same time, if it's a lot of people.
Yeah, maybe.
So anyway, or maybe, okay, I don't know why they're doing it. Maybe it is something like, I think part of the idea of this is she's giving direction to the founding members.
Well, I don't know. You're the one who signed up for it, so you probably know more information about what's going on.
And I think also, she wants contributions from the founding members. So I guess a group meeting will be helpful because we're talking to each other. Anyway, I just wanted to update you. Nothing's happened on it yet. That's all.
Yeah.
So,
but they're expecting some kind of a launch date for this, or
for Ian Hersey's project Restoration, you mean?
Yeah,
it's already launched, and they have 2 podcast episodes out. That's not the only thing they're doing, but that's one of the things. And the first episode was with Douglas Murray.
Okay.
And I really like that episode. The second episode, I don't remember her name. It's with the woman from Russia who's, when she was young, emigrated to the U.S., and they were talking about like woke stuff. A lot of stuff is about woke stuff. Anyway, and actually, we were forced to talk about it too, right here. Where is it?
Yeah. No, I think it's it's a theme in almost all discussions that are going to involve ex-Muslims in one way or another.
Yeah. Well, Douglas Murray doesn't, that's not a main topic of his, but wokeism is.
Yeah, I mean, he was personally affected in when he was trying to give talks on campuses. So I know that he has a lot of.
Well, it makes sense for him to be talking about it. I mean, he talks about Western civilization, and there's no parts of Western civilization that isn't affected by that now.
Yeah, but he is separately from that. He has in his books generally ideas that seem to be creating a lot of controversy in terms of what people would perceive as racism and things of that sort.
Sure. A little bit similar to the stuff we were saying earlier about not sounding cocky, or you know what I mean? Like, okay, like for example, Trump's language of those shithole countries. Okay, it sounds shitty or whatever, but it's real. It's real. There are shithole countries. North Korea. I'm sorry. I don't care who you are. If you're offended by that, you're either that motherfucker, whatever he is, king of that place, or what?
Oh, he's a god almost.
Huh?
He's almost a god over there.
Shit, is he really doing the Pharaoh thing?
It's near that. Have you actually seen the way that people are supposed to glorify him? You're supposed to say thanks for.
If you don't cry enough, you're gonna get in trouble.
Yeah, so he's literally a god over there.
Was that like how it was in Japan before the end of World War II?
I doubt it. Not to that extent. So
I mean, that bad.
Not
Japan
to that
was less bad.
Yeah,
Come on, man. Japan caused World War II. About bringing the U.S. into it. You're saying North Korea is worse?
Yeah. Well, it was an emperor that was divine in some sense, but not to that. The control over the people was not as big, as far as I understand it. I might be mistaken, but I think North Korea is much more.
Do you think that's worth? I want to write somewhere down that maybe we talk about that one day. The North Korea and Japan similarity.
Yeah.
With respect to the people having, mind controlled by the president, king.
Hitchens has a really nice nice take on this. So
really,
he talks a lot about North Korea and in connection.
You know where I can find it? What, like?
I think it's all over the web somewhere. But
like video, you mean? Not a book.
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember, was it a video or because he did a lot of videos as well. I think it might have been a video. It could be a book also.
Okay, couple more points. We ran right into it. I was thinking, so these meetings that we're doing, I don't think we should let them compete with the podcast, meaning like the meetings are more important, the way I see it, because again, acceleration. But maybe we could also, I mean, this is not enough time to do the podcast now. So should we be scheduling other time for the podcast?
Well, today for me in particular, because I have something.
No, we can't today. Yeah, I can't do more than 2 hours at once.
Yeah, honestly, more than 2 hours, unless there's a lot of things that are specifically prepared to fit the 2 hours, it becomes a lot of rambling. So there are a lot of good content.
Yeah, I haven't had. I'm just saying 2 hours is a max for me for like my body, maybe even my mind too. But rambling, no, I think I'm over organized and I have the next 10 meetings already planned.
Okay, no, that's
so okay. So should we schedule our first podcast or what?
Yeah.
I remember you wanted to discuss or make a plan for it first. Oh, and I already got a document. Let me bring that.
We were talking specifically about the idea of free will. That was one thing that.
Yeah, well, and I remember you said you wanted to have a. Oh, that's why now I realize why you brought that up. You want to have a plan for the podcast before we schedule it. Yeah.
Yeah. Remember the way that I planned for the apostasy one, something along those lines where there are specific items, specific dates, specific references, and things of that sort that I would want to include, because it's a very extensive topic and it's a very thorny one because it has a lot of implications. So
what's the one you just mentioned? I forgot.
It was free will.
Yeah, this one. Okay, that's the same one we were talking about.
Yeah, punishment.
Part of the Google Doc. That's not a Google Doc. Oh, hold on. That's my notes, which is a part of the YouTube. Okay, here's why I brought that up. So in one of our, what was it, in the June 14th, we talked about the punishment thing and the free will thing, and I want to have that little snippet or clip so that when we do our podcast, we play it and continue our discussion instead of forget everything we said already. You know?
No, that's great. Yes, I think that's.
So I got the timestamp and everything, and now I guess, how do you want to go about? Well, we're each coming at it from our own ideas anyway. How about you make your own list of what you think we should talk about? I make my own list, and then it's a mashup and we talk.
Right. So let me give you an overview of who I have in mind when I think about free will. There are three people. Sam Harris is one of them, definitely. Sapolsky, the guy who wrote Determined, is another. He's really big right now after he published the book Determined. And Daniel Dennett, who passed away not long ago.
Yeah.
These are three modern views of a very old problem, but the implications of this are the ones that are going to be interesting.
Let's see. You said Sam Harris, something. How do you pronounce his last name? Say it again.
Let me just get the name exactly.
And then the other one was Daniel Dennett.
Yes. So the book is called Determined: A Science Without Free Will. That's by Robert Sapolsky, Sapolsky.
I'm not good at listening like that. I'm a more reading, visual person.
Right. Let me just write it here.
I can always fix it later. I don't care about spelling. Let's see. And I always do fix it later, by the way. But I'd rather do it.
Daniel Dennett is written differently.
Yeah.
let me.
I think it's this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I don't know about these two people really. I know Sam Harris's ideas on this. I think I do. I would be talking about David Deutsch.
Okay.
And I think that's all. But a really big thing I'll be focusing on, which maybe is even bigger than David Deutsch's ideas on this, at least to this topic. I don't mean to the topic of free will, really. Or I meant to Sam Harris in particular, is the semantics problem of people arguing over free will while having different definitions of that word in their head.
Right. Yeah.
And never realizing that they're using different definitions. Anyway.
Right. So let me just explain my main stance in maybe one sentence so that you would have an idea about what it is that I'm going to be arguing about. So I am more inclined in the direction of Sapolsky, who is saying that science completely eliminates the idea of free will, that the concept itself is an incoherent one. It does not. You cannot even phrase it in a proper way for it to make sense in the first place. On the other hand, Daniel Dennett has a kind of an alternative view that's a little bit more complicated, more nuanced, but essentially he does advocate for some form of free will, even though the definition is really different from what people usually call free will.
So I'm guessing I would be falling on Daniel Dennett's side. One thing I'll be saying is I've heard Sam Harris proponents say, and they also said Sam says this, that basically his reasoning for, and I'm probably butchering a lot of this, his motivation for criticizing free will is because of our current culture's conception of free will and how that they use that as a foundation to punish people. And in my view, we shouldn't be punishing them. And I don't need to correct my vision of free will to get to that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So that's why I was saying it's a thorny topic, because I too think that when it comes to punishment, you actually should be viewing it as a kind of a mental issue, an environmental issue, an issue that has to do with causality and how you ended up with whatever it is that the person committed, instead of casting it in a kind of a moral cast that says, okay, you're trying to punish or you're trying to correct some kind of a moral bad that happened through punishment. That's why I do think that free will is going to be a very relevant topic for this. But overall, free will in general, not just for this particular topic, for everyday experience and how people experience their own connection to the world, to others, this is going to also be relevant for that.
And let me remind myself. So all I wrote down was punishment and free will, and basically I think this is. I mean, the only other thing we could prepare better is if you already have, like, if any links you might want, you already have them ready, like I have here. And what the point of that is to say it minimizes editing, and so we could show stuff on the screen really easily, quickly, and
right.
So I don't know what I'm telling you. I remember what you prepared before. It was very good.
So right before Daniel Dennett passed away, he actually had a kind of talk with Sapolsky about this. And it was really unfortunate because I really respect Daniel Dennett. I think he's wrong in this aspect, but I really respect him, and it really showed that his age was affecting the conversation, and so I didn't think it did justice to his position. But definitely that talk that he had with Sapolsky is something that I can include here.
Okay.
But Sapolsky has been on almost everybody's podcast recently. Everybody. So he's been appearing everywhere because of that book.
I see. So it's also new and fresh. And that also means trending. And that means when we talk about it, we will trend.
It's definitely something that has created a big splash after he published that book, and I really think I already have it as one of the audiobooks that I'm listening to right now. So I'm going through the book systematically, but I would probably add one or more talks that I have already listened to by Sapolsky about this, and of course Sam Harris also engaged Daniel Dennett about this. There's a piece that was, I think, written by Daniel Dennett himself, or maybe it was written jointly by them. I'm not sure exactly, but I can share that with you.
Okay. No, that's not what I wanted. Send. So whatever you get your links or whatever, you can put them in here.
Right. Yeah. So for a timeline for this, I will aim for next Wednesday, but
Well, it's probably timeline to be finished with the document.
with the document, but the actual podcast itself might require a little bit more time.
I would say we shouldn't even schedule the podcast until we're happy with the document.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So now back to here.
Okay, so I probably have a couple more minutes because
I think we're done.
yeah, we have I have two exams next week, and I need to be working on them. I have a meeting with the students in less than 2 hours, so I need
one more update. I couldn't help my mom do the thing you needed, but I'm going to see her today or tomorrow, and we're going to do it, and I'm going to walk her through it, and I'm going to write down instructions, email it to her, and so she should be able to do this on her own after that.